As a woman with ADHD, there is a very good chance that you spend a lot of your time feeling really bad about not being productive enough. It turns out a lot of the advice out there will actually make things worse, not better, for ADHD brains. As a neuroscience professor with ADHD, I have fallen into these 5 traps multiple times. And in this video, I'm going to count down my top 5 toxic productivity traps to avoid, and I'm going to share approaches that actually help you get stuff done without making you hate your life. Here we go. Coming in at number 5, you need a rigid schedule. So having a rigid schedule means that you should just make it work, and you should just push through and force yourself to just do that thing that you're scheduled to do in the moment, no matter how it feels for you. I have been through so many of these rigid schedules where I thought that if I just scheduled myself to death, then somehow I wouldn't mind being scheduled to do something every single second of every single day. In the end, this just didn't work with the variable energy of my ADHD brain. And I realized that I needed to base my schedule on themes that gave me enough flexibility to do something else if one thing just wasn't going to happen. So like Tuesday and Thursday afternoons, I have blocked off for meetings. I have meeting-free Mondays where I do writing or research or other deep work, or just catch up on whatever it is I might have forgotten to do last week. And this makes sense because if I'm not getting anywhere writing the text of a paper in a given moment, why should I keep staring at a blank screen? I could work on making figures or editing a section instead if that's what my brain is going to allow me to do. So I can have the theme, but I can move within that theme. Rigidity just makes it super easy to fail, while flexibility with just enough structure to be the guardrails that keep you on track, that is the sweet spot for ADHD brains because it lets you make progress without constantly having to force yourself to do tasks when your brain just doesn't wanna. And if your brain just doesn't wanna, a lot of times it ain't happening. So you may as well just get something else done instead. Speaking of rigidity, let's talk about number 4, which is that there is only one right way to do productivity. For example, I see this all the time with morning routines. And listen, if you love waking up at 5 a.m., jumping into an ice bath, running a 5K, then meditating and gratitude journaling before you cheerfully make breakfast for your family with a smile on your face, like, you have my admiration, but I just can't do that. And for a long time, I thought that I was incapable of real success because things like that type of morning routine just sounded like awful. And every time I would try to force myself into someone else's perfect routine at any time of the day, I failed, and I failed like so fast. And so what finally clicked for me was realizing that progress matters more than how you make the progress, or the time of day you make the progress, or how regularly you make the progress. And there's literally no moral superiority in doing things one way or another. For example, I started exercising at times of day I actually enjoy, and let go of my dreams of ever being able to tolerate or enjoy an ice bath. When you make this shift to solving the problem for you and your brain, you literally unlock endless ways that you can experiment to find a solution that works for you and your brain. And here's the benefit of this. When you find something that works for your brain, you will actually stick with it, and you won't hate your life, and you won't hate yourself. I seriously wish I had not wasted so much time worrying about the right way and had been willing to look for the right way for me, because life is so much better. And if you are a high achiever, any shame you may have felt for these perfect solutions not working for you will pale in comparison to number 3, which is that if you're not busy all the time, you must be lazy. Do you have a dream or a goal? You're told you should be working on it every spare minute of your life. Do you go home at 5 or not work weekends? Then you must not be working hard, or you must not care. I hate this idea for 2 main reasons. First, I spent years feeling like an imposter because I wanted to go home and recharge instead of hanging around the lab just to look busy. But the fact is, I need downtime. I just do. Sorry, but I do. Otherwise, I become less productive, not more productive. So now I just get my priorities done and I go home to recharge and relax, and I have let go of that guilt, and I'm more productive and I'm happier. The second reason I hate this is that the most successful people I know and know of actually focus on the quality of their work, not the quantity of time they spend at work. They get things done efficiently and then they're done, guilt-free. And they understand that recharging is just as important, if not more important, than spending time on the things you need to get done. Because real productivity and success, and happiness for that matter, come from making your time count, not just filling your time to appear dedicated, all while secretly hating your life. Like, that is not what life is about. Now, number 2 is the flip side of that advice. Because not only are you supposed to be occupied for as many hours as possible, you're also told to cram as much as possible into the hours that you do work. And this brings us to number 2. The answer is actually to be more efficient with your time. Cram more into every single second. And on the surface, this sounds great. Get more done, make space for more stuff you could get done. But for me, this ended up being like a direct, fast path to burnout. I was already so busy that work was spilling into my nights and weekends, and I never said no. So I was constantly trying to just cram more in. The worst thing was, once I got diagnosed and started ADHD meds, I became even more effective at doing things faster, but then I just took on more and more stuff. And I'm still a little mad at past me sometimes for thinking that was a good idea. Because I was drowning myself, and not because I wasn't efficient, but because I didn't have boundaries and I didn't know how to prioritize. So I was just piling on more and more and more and more and more and more. And this is the thing. If you don't know how to set boundaries or prioritize what you should be doing, then being more efficient is dangerous because it just lets you pile on more work and dig yourself even deeper. So learning to identify your most important tasks and design a schedule around your needs, goals, and values comes before you try to be more efficient. Otherwise, you are just getting better at drowning yourself more effectively. And speaking of digging yourself deeper, this brings us to number 1, which is the biggest offender, and you hear this everywhere. If you want to make a change, you have to be consistent. This one has killed so many dreams and so much progress for so many people, because this is the thing. If you have ADHD, your brain is wired for bursts, not steady routines. I work in bursts. I rest in bursts. And once I stopped beating myself up for not being consistent, I actually became more successful because I also ditched the shame associated with needing those bursts of rest in between the bursts of activity. I think of this as continuation over consistency. When I adopted this mindset, I quit less things, I tackled more scary things, and I felt stronger mentally. And here's the deal. If you're making progress towards something, you will eventually get to that something. That is physics, okay? Missing a day or two does not mean you failed as long as you get back to moving toward the goal. For most things, consistency is not required to actually reach the finish line. So what if instead of requiring yourself to be consistent or you have to quit because you failed, you just expected your brain to show up inconsistently, but you trusted yourself to come back to it? What if your goal was progress instead of perfect consistency? And understanding that progress is the point is how you unlock real change, okay? Miss a workout, yell at your kids, or binge a bag of Oreos, that's okay. You get to try again tomorrow. And when you can ditch the shame that goes along with that, you get back so much more energy to put toward whatever progress you are trying to make. And the benefit of this too is that you teach your brain to trust that you will come back. So as you build new habits, you might actually find that you naturally become more consistent, but without all that shame and emotional baggage of like having to be that way. Way less exhausting, way more effective. So give yourself permission to be imperfect. Progress is the point. Progress is how you actually cross a finish line. You get to where you need to go, all while not hating your life again. And that seems better to me. I want you to come away from this video understanding that there are no official rules for how to be productive or how to achieve your goals. The best solution, ladies, is whichever solution you actually use. The best progress is whatever progress you are able to make any given day. And the best life is one where you are actually living in alignment with how your brain is wired so that you can go do what lights you up, because the world is a better place when women with ADHD are doing the things that light them up. And now that you know about these 5 traps, you'll need this approach to get going. So watch this video next where I break down what it is and exactly how to make it work for you.